Before I started this, I wanted to talk a little bit the background, how, I was so cold that say goodbye to my parents. That was before, about 3 years before, 1966, the Cultural Revolution start. I think officially started June 1st. The People's Daily, the official newspaper, they published the article on the front page, said sweeping all the monster and the demons. So that's the movement start. And I'm a serious kid. I write my diary every day, And I hope I still have, but on the day, September 17, I still remember. And they burned everything. So I want to talk about that day. And especially today, it's not just they call National Celebration Day for the Chinese Communist Party took over 1949. Also is a double holiday. It's called the Moon Festival. So the meaning in Chinese, they're supposed to get together, like a Thanksgiving in here. And so I just wanted to tell you something, how the Communist Party and cast a bond between our family, between the flesh. How they try to just force me to denounce my parents. So let's back to that day. September 17, 1969. I just see like a usual, September 1st, they start the new school. But they stopped in 1966. But we still go to school and have all kind of activities, to basically follow this Mao's movement, revolution. And that day, I went to school, and the gate was closed. And only the side door was open. And we had to stand in line and to re-register. And what they ask you to write it down is what kind of class status you are. That means, your parents is what kind of class status. Because in China, since 1949, and they just divided the people in different class status. The leading class, of course, is the Communist Party members. And they lead the workers, farmers, and soldiers. And their children, of course, is privileged. It's a leading class is children, and so they were, it's good, status is good. And the rest of it, they divided by landlords, rich farmer, and anti-revolutionary, and bad elements. Bad elements means like people, thief, criminals. And basically they were against, mostly against the people have the consensual sexual relationship before the marriage. So they be considered bad elements and morally corrupt. And then the last one's the rightist, most intellectual teachers and doctors, people have education, and they will criticize the government, so they be called the rightist. And then in the Cultural Revolution, they extended that to the 9th category, and including capitalist, which was, I belong to that, because my father owned a business. So we got to stand in the line. So they said that, well, if you're leading class, good status, and go to the left. And if you're bad class, and go to the left, right. And so then we line it up. So they showed it to us, said that, well, you go home, you're not allowed to come into the school unless you do this. Number one, you had to make an ID, pinch on your chest, say you are bastard. Bastard in English, is like an illegitimate child. But in Chinese, it's worse than that. It's like a crossbreed, like a human and animal or something, just you're subhuman. and you had to make a badge and paint it on your chest every day. You go to school, you show that, and they will let you in. Otherwise, no. And then you go home, you had to make a bigger post on your front door and saying to denounce your father and the mother. So they told me I had to denounce my father is a vampire, bloodsucker, because he owned the factory. According to the communism, you suck people's blood. Then my mother is a leech. So I had to put up 2 bigger posts on the front door and make an ID for myself. And they were checking on about after 9 o'clock. So I went home, and my parents wasn't there because they all took to have the critical meetings. And so I started thinking, because I always been taught, my parents always teach me, you have to be an honest person. Doesn't matter what you do. Honesty is most important to things. And so I was a little child, just like as an American child, we reading those fairy tale story like a Pinocchio. So I always like a second grade also after I read the book story. So I talked to my father. I said, Dad, now I know I cannot lie because my nose gonna grow if I lie, right? And then my dad said, well, my nickname is Little Bell, Shaolin. And they said, Little Bell, said that not just your nose gonna grow, and also you have a little beautiful creature in your mind. If you lie, they're gonna leave. I said, then what? What I'm gonna do? Then you cannot think by yourself. If your soul left, if you lie. So I always remember that. So I just, I pick up the coin on the street. I had to go to looking for the traffic cop to give it to them, just wanted to be honest. It is so important to me. So I think, I really think my father is a vampire, is bloodsucker. My mother is a leech. Should I write this down? I really think that they are. Also, I think myself is a bastard, so the answer is no, because I don't think so. So I had to be honest. So I didn't do anything. And then really bad things happened. About 9 o'clock, and the red guy come in, and someone was my classmate. Someone was even my good friend. And they just knock in the door and then breaking into it. And then they say that, how come you didn't write the post? I didn't see any post on your front door. And where's your ID? I say, I didn't do it. They say, really? Now I teach you how to do that. So they just immediately tied my parents, gathered them, and then stand up and then bend down. And they found those buckets and kettles and filling out the water and put it on their neck. And then they use the those wooden stick, and then push me in the back, and say that now you had to say in front of your parents, just say it. So I didn't want to say it because I didn't think they are vampire and a leech. I don't think I'm a bastard, so I don't want to say it. And they start take their belt with those metal buckle and start to beat me in the back, and they push me down in front of my mom. My mom immediately just holding me, and because I'm a part of her, and she would die for me. But then she told me, she said, little Belle, you just say it. Just say what they say. They want you to say. I get up. I look at my father. I said, you are bloodsucker, and you're not my father. I hate you. And then they was laughing and chanting. They said, loud, loud. And then pushed me to front of my mother. I say the same thing. And in that moment, I felt little creature in my mind, my soul, just jumping out of my body. I just walking dead.
I think we'll take a break and let Amy not think about that for just a minute, and we'll be back on China Über Alles. This is the kind of thing that we want folks to know about. It's a little tough, but it's definitely some motivation that we need to know about. We'll be right back. If you'd like more information on our program, go to ChinaUberAlles.com.